Good morning. It is just gone 6 o'clock. So, 24-hour reading challenge. Let's begin. Hello. Long time no see. What's it been, like 6 months? What's happened since I've been away? I read every book that I own, which is pretty cool. I then went and bought a whole lot more. So that didn't last for long. Today what I'm doing is a 24-hour reading challenge. I just kind of fancied it really. I wanted to see how many books that I could read within 24-hour time span. I started this morning at 6 a.m. as you saw. Unfortunately, baby was screaming all through the night, so I didn't exactly get the most sleep leading into this. But, I'm sure it's all going to turn out okay. I'm not at all worried about flagging tomorrow morning. You might notice that the background has changed. I moved into a new apartment recently. I say recently. It was full on 4 months ago. And life's been okay, I've been busy. But yeah, had a free day. Thought I'd give this a try, never done it before. And I'm going to keep you with me throughout the day to kind of document this experience. And yeah, tell you a bit about the things that I end up reading. That'll be fun, won't it? Look forward to that. So I have finished the first book in my challenge, which is Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neal Hurston. It was, hot take, really good, really enjoyable. A classic of American literature and African American literature, feminist literature, that I always wanted to get around to and hadn't. A relatively short book, about 220 pages. And yeah, a kind of story of self-discovery of a young African American woman, Janie. She was raised by her grandmother, who was a freed slave, and had certain expectations of how Janie's life should go, like the kind of steps that she needs to take in order to build a safe and stable life for herself. But Janie kind of struggles against that and has her own vision for what she wants her life to look like. And the story is following the decisions that she makes and the steps that she takes in order for her to get there. Yeah, a much loved work for a reason. A lot of value in it. Good way to start the morning. On to the next book. But first, I think I'm going to have a shower. Book 2 completed. This one's called The Employees, a workplace novel for the 22nd century. Written by Olga Ravn. Forgive me any Danish watchers for my pronunciation. I think I enjoyed this a lot. Definitely thought-provoking. It's the story of two different parts of a crew. A human part of a crew and like a humanoid part who are manufactured, made people. Yeah, the story is told to us in a series of statements to the employer. There isn't really a concrete fix on character for most of this book. It's all told in like 1-page or 2-page excerpts of this spaceship that has long since left behind Earth and is kind of fixed by this planet, new discovery, where they've managed to find these objects that have been brought onto the ship, placed in rooms, and the employees are interacting with them. Yeah, a really interesting concept. It's very short, only 120 pages. And it really takes a look at what it means to be human, obviously, very central theme, but also takes a look at, as you may guess from the title, ideas around work and what work should look like in the future, what our purpose is in relation to work, and what it means to be living and how we relate that to our roles as employees. The way that they interact with these objects, which we never really get a concrete look at, is really driven by the things that they feel that they're lacking. So in the case of the humans, they're missing Earth, they're missing their families. There are no kids on the ship that we are aware of, other than a kind of replica child, like a hologram, which one employee notably locks themselves in the room with, and it just kind of keeps playing over and over, which is pretty sad. Yeah, so the humans are really looking through this tint of nostalgia, kind of looking at a glimpse of what they've left behind, whereas the humanoids who have been created and are, for all intents and purposes, immortal, are trying to get any kind of connection, human emotion. They constantly go on about the program and how they are, in their own way, living outside of it, how they're not fitting the strict confines of what their employers have asked them to do, have programmed them to be like, and they're just desperate to be different, to not be fitting into this clear structure whilst aware at the same time that they inevitably are. Yeah, really interesting. Glad I read it. That's 2 for 2. Let's see what's next. Hey guys, what's up? I'm chilling. Hour 12 of the readathon. Things are going great. You know, my friends have always asked what the best part of my new apartment is. And I'm going to be real with you. It's this feature wall right here. You get to feel like you're in paradise every day. It's amazing. It's been suggested that maybe we cover it up. That maybe we, paint over it, make it white, plain, pedestrian, boring. And what I say to that is, no, absolutely not. This room is both bedroom and home office. And nothing pleases me more than to wake up or to look up from my desk and see this. Anyway, I thought it would be appropriate to be here to discuss the next book that I read. That book is On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous by Vuong. I was originally a bit hesitant, I have to admit, when reading it. I was slightly concerned that it would lead towards what I kind of see as a more vacuous, overly poetic form of storytelling that I just don't really get on with that well. And I think, there is a tendency in some literature to try and make every line an impact line, right? Like every paragraph has to end with something that will make someone go, yeah, no, that was a good one. Which is fine. It's a valid way of doing storytelling, but it's not necessarily one that I love. But I actually reasonably enjoyed this. It's the story of a young Vietnamese American who is writing a letter to his illiterate mother, talking about his experiences growing up, his relationship with his mother, and his experiences coming to terms with his sexuality as a young gay man. I thought that there was a lot of emotion in this book, a really strong emotional core to it, both in his relationship with his mother and with his grandparents, but also in his relationship with Trevor, the boy who he kind of becomes entangled with. And there's certainly a lot to recommend in the writing style, in the sense of there are definitely points where it is beautiful, it's beautifully written. The phrasing, the metaphor, it can be very moving. I do think it bordered at times on what I was kind of talking about earlier, but overall, pretty good, pretty enjoyable. His name's Ocean. Look at Ocean. That's pretty good. The question is, how am I doing at this halfway point? I am tired. I'm about to go into the long stretch. I started this at 6 a.m. It's now 6 p.m. I think that night will be better for me in terms of the pace of my reading. I feel like 3 books in half a day isn't exactly the par I wanted to set, but nor do I think it's rubbish. I think that's a reasonable amount to have read. But I still think that, the second half, I'm hoping to pick up the pace. I guess I have 2 main concerns about that. The first is I may fall asleep. I'm hoping not to, but it's a real risk. And the other anti-concern is, which book do I read next? I've got plenty of options. I could go for A Passage to India. That's one I've got waiting in the wings. Or I've got a Gabriela Garcia Marquez book. Quite short, John Steinbeck, The Pearl, but I didn't know if I wanted to save towards the end as like a final push. It's very short. I also have a copy of John Bunyan's Pilgrim's Progress that I got out of the library. I've been getting into Civil War history recently. That's English Civil War history. And Pilgrim's Progress was one of those books that was hugely important to the Puritan tradition. I wouldn't necessarily describe it as easy reading, based on my understanding of it. So maybe not one for tonight. But who knows? Weird stuff happens in the night. Anyway, let's get on with it. Let's keep going. I'll talk to you in probably about 2 to 3 hours. Okay, I think we've reached a point in the evening which I could reasonably be called tired. So my decision after finishing On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous was to read a shorter book. Read one that was relatively straightforward to get through, because I was worried that I was going to get bogged down and stuck on a meatier text. So I ended up going with Agnes Grey by Brontë. And gonna be real with you, bit of a disappointment. Of the Brontes that I've read quite a few at this point. This is probably my least favourite. It was a bit basic, not a whole lot going on with it. Yeah, frankly, I just wasn't hugely engaged. The contours of the plot were fairly, I don't know, it was fairly thin, fairly predictable, but mildly sweet, I guess, inoffensive. Just kind of wanted something a bit better, to be honest. But there you go. We're heading into the post-midnight phase of this challenge. Heading into another calendar day. 6 more hours to go. I fully believe that I can finish 2 more books in this time. But I have not drunk the appropriate caffeine to do it. So we'll see what happens. Pray for me. Hello, it is 4:15 a.m. and I am making the executive decision to call it a night. I have finished my 5th book. The book I have finished is called Frontier. This is the book. It's by Grace Curtis. I enjoyed it. It is science fiction. I was expecting it to be a bit more spacey, but it was actually primarily based on Earth. More of a kind of sci-fi western vibe than perhaps I expected. I guess I kind of expected that, but I thought it would be more out of this world, so to speak. But yeah, no, I mean, very light, breezy, quick read on a normal day. I saw it as described for fans of Becky Chambers, and while I don't think it's quite in Chambers' ilk, I see why there would be crossover in terms of fan bases. Yeah, if you like a bit of fun, breezy, cowboy-y sci-fi, give it a check out. I ended up finishing on 5 books, which is less than I would have hoped, but you know, I literally can't keep my eyes open anymore. I have to call it. There's no point in me starting something because I know I'm not going to get it finished. I'm not going to be able to give it the attention I want to give it. So this is something that I've learned. After a certain time of the night, your body just starts to break down, and that's something I should definitely take into account if I ever decide to attempt this again. Maybe bring in more coffee later on. Make sure I don't have anything planned the next day. The aim of this whole adventure was fun, and I don't want to, you know, ruin my experience reading a potentially great book. You've got to give Pilgrim's Progress the attention it deserves, and I can't do that right now. Thank you for joining me on this journey, and welcome back to Eddiecational. I hope you stick around. Have you ever tried anything like this before? You ever done something really stupid? Let me know. I'd be glad to hear it. Glad to know that I'm not the only one. If you have any tips for how you would approach a challenge like this, I'd be very curious. Okay, thank you very much. I will see you next time.